Frontier Theater, a theater from a positive future. One dedicated to gifting timely, transformative information via wizened guests and luminaries for the purpose of freeing our culture and planet from a negative, disastrous timeline. Join us as we explore the solutions. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Davis Still, and I'm very, very honored to welcome Keith Wyatt, a dear brother and soul friend, I'm sure for many, many lifetimes. And he's graced us with his presence today. I've asked him to come forward and help us sort some things out as to who we are, where we are, perhaps where we're going and who we're going with. Keith Wyatt is a student of prophecy whose 10-year investigation into end times tales from cultures around the world has revealed the divine purpose that the prophesied days of tribulation play in assisting humanity's spiritual evolution. For Keith's own spiritual practices have shown him that the only way through the fear and suffering in one's soul is through it. Thus awakened to the essential role that hardships play in assisting the soul's growth, Keith has come to see the divine perfection at play in the seeming chaos of our days. Inspired by these revelations, Keith's production company, Awakening as One, has spent the last 10 years making documentary films aimed at uplifting souls by awakening them to the divine purpose and perfection of existence. To view the recently released The Testing Times and the viral video sensation Armageddon, The War Within, feel free to visit awakeningasone.com and our website, frontiertheater.org, that will post this interview. So again, welcome, Keith Wyatt, and it's always a delight and a heartful pleasure.
It is a true pleasure to be connected with you again, Robert. First of all, I just have to say that I'm not the one with the answers. Again, everything that I share here is gifted to me through a serious study of prophecies from cultures around the world and a dedicated contemplation on these prophecies. And then I would also say a moving of a spirit within to help me understand these things. And I don't have complete understanding. I don't think it's meant for us to have complete understanding, because that would bring in arrogance and a surety. And I think, again, that a big part of the process here is to put us in a humble state, a state of not knowing, where we can learn to find peace with the changing, unexpected nature of things. And it's through facing those things in that way that we can really move into a pure faith that everything is unfolding as it's meant to, live or die. And again, that is a process. So I think, again, that I don't have absolutes, but my main focus over the years, more so, I have some interest in timelines and actual events, as they're very clearly actually stated in prophecies, with some room for shifting and adjustment. But my really, really profound interest that I know is out there, but I don't see too much out there, is the spiritual underpinning, spiritual purpose of all of this. And I know people are merely just practicing this and preparing for it in their way. But in terms of sharing, I don't hear it so much. And so I do have a focus and love sharing about that as well.
Well, please do. Please do is the answer. So the context of that, the propensity for humankind's adjustment to adaptation, as seen through the various ages, whether we go into Atlantean and Lemurian cultures and civilizations, or wherever we look through time, there seems to be this slothful process of adaptation to conscious awareness that facilitates, I'll call it a Satya Yoga, basically a golden age. And, can we really, based on change being kind of an evolutionary necessity, even if we were in a Satya Yuga, we would move out of the Satya Yuga.
Yes.
from a golden age. So what can we do in reference to your process of understanding the spiritual underpinning to uplift the varietals of soul types and consciousnesses that are upon the planet right now, and bring enough of a galvanization and synchronicity to this grouping of souls to enact perhaps the necessary changes we need to see before us in order to survive as a culture and a planet?
Two things I'll say. One is our survival is guaranteed. And this is like, we want to speak about joy and the positive aspect of all of this. It is ultimately extremely positive. The race of man will continue, though changed. We are in the process, as you say, of birthing or adapting, changing. And the planet itself will survive, though changed. The planet and humankind is much older than people perceive. And in fact, many of the teachings will say they are old, that they have always been. And man has always been. There has never been a time when man has not been. What came first, the chicken or the egg? There are some who believe that the chicken and the egg were born at once. And not one came before the other. That's a very materialistic perspective. But if all was existing at once as a thought of God, as in a dream, and then those fine ethereal manifests of chicken and egg, then through a process of changing frequency, then lowered their frequency and vibratory rate down into physical. Then at once, the dream that was merely an ephemeral dream then became physical. And so in that sense, we have always existed in the mind of God, and then we became manifest and physical, and then we will move back into spiritual, just as the in-breath and the out-breath. We have come from one, we will return to one. So ultimately, it's extremely positive and it is extremely amazing. We are in a process of birthing, and our success and our continued evolution is guaranteed. Now, like the grapes that are harvested in the field, we have these end times moments where many aspirant souls, many souls of spiritual interest pray and long for lifetimes, for many lifetimes, to be born in times such as these, because it is in these end times experiences that the soul is given the opportunity to advance at a very rapid rate. We're here to nurture and to give fruit and sustenance to the divine virtues that exist inside of us. Things like love, and wisdom, and faith, and truth, and peace, and joy. And someone who is able to manifest joy at a time when so few can. A person who is able to manifest love, the deepest, purest love, at a time when most people have given over to fear and hatred. Those people, by walking that path, are harvesting their karmas that they put in place in this lifetime and in future lifetimes. And when the hard times come, and they are these beacons of faith and peace and love and joy, we understand that what we're trying to do on our journey of enlightenment is fill these pots. We have, each of these virtues has a pot. So peace has this big pot that I'm trying to put drops in this pot. And when all of my 10 pots, let's say there's 10 virtues, when all of these 10 virtues are full to the brim, then my divine qualities are fully manifested in this soul, and then I can become enlightened. And so when these hard times come, those who are interested, these aspirants, then get to pour massive drops of peace into the generosity, faith, love. And so it is an incredible time. And many, you know, in the Bible, it says, I think it's the prophet Micah speaking about the hard times that are coming, and essentially destruction is coming for those who destroy the earth. But for those who revere the Heavenly Father's holy name, those who are spiritual and see the Spirit in all, they will skip about the hills like well-fed calves, because they've been praying for many lifetimes to be alive during this time so they could reap the benefits, so their souls could be tempered and changed and perfected, and thus not so they could do it for themselves, so that they could be better people and think themselves, like, I got this, I'm enlightened, woohoo, but so that they realize when they manifest peace and love and joy, that peace, love, and joy radiates outwards, and then is able to help and assist others in this dark time, in these dark times and beyond. So it is an incredible time. Now, that said, like the harvest of grapes, it's not a big deal. You come through, the harvesters come through, you know, it's October, you want to pick the grapes to make the wine. You come through and there's some small number of the grapes are ready. And so those grapes will get harvested. So a small number of people will make use of the opportunities in this changing time in the next 10 years. They will make use of this time to fill those pots and to perfect themselves. And then there are many at this time who aren't ready yet, who aren't quite ready to fulfill that. And there will be, as the Bible says, much wailing and gnashing of teeth for those people. But ultimately, this isn't to even laugh at those people. It's just a fact. And we've probably all been there, through other lifetimes when we weren't that as evolved as or as curious as we might be. We weren't interested. And so we reached the point and we had our end days, and then we probably suffered a lot, wailing and gnashing of teeth. I mean, we're still here, so we're not in light yet. So we're still suffering, just in different grades of suffering. So everyone is guaranteed survival or salvation. The Buddha said his last words before he died, the very last words before he died, is every impurity that has arisen, which is a falsehood, every impurity or falsehood that exists will eventually pass away, because there is only truth. There is only the one truth. And you can argue all day, you can argue your whole life, but at the end, it doesn't matter what arguments anyone brings forth. The truth is the truth and will always stand. And we can fool ourselves, and all of us are doing this. We have these false perceptions in our mind. But eventually, for some people this lifetime, for some countless lifetimes away, they will finally be cleansed of these impurities. And so this is good news. It is good news. And I'll say one more thing just in terms of this adaptation. Many of the prophets liken this time, many prophets liken this time to labor, the birthing of a baby. And it is a very incredible analogy, because in fact, it's the exact same. We watched it, 9 months, the woman's growing over first 3 months, barely even noticed, maybe a little bit of nausea, a little bit of shifting time, and I think around 2012, we could feel an intense, like a change had happened around 2012. Some people are getting nauseous, something's up, some shifting energies are happening. And then, the next 3 months, up to 6 months, things are growing, but it's pretty chill. Like we see things are changing, but it feels like maybe this baby's never ever going to be born, Things are happening, and then the next 3 months come, and of course we come to finally, everything is moving along, kind of seems like it could go on forever. Maybe this baby's never going to be born, and then all of a sudden, one day it happens. One day the water breaks, and then the experience of labor begins. Now, the experience of labor, I just had a baby 2.5 years ago. It was amazing.
Congratulations to that.
But we went through the experience, my wife and I, and of course our daughter went through this experience, and watching this amazing God-given experience where lots of people come to the moment of labor and they haven't made preparations inside of themselves, and they hand all of their power over to other individuals to take care of the birthing for them. They have lots of fears inside that they haven't mitigated, fears and worries and impurities, as I said, these things that exist inside of us that we all have. But around the experience of labor, they expect pain, they expect these things, they don't want these things to happen. And when they begin to happen, they face it and they struggle against it and they suffer greatly. And that is a choice. And that is a harvest experience that they have. They harvest the karma of that experience. Not a good or a bad experience, but baby's born. But the choices that they made up until that point of labor, the perspectives that they gained surrounding how interested they were about that labor and what it all entailed, can lead to the experience, and they can, in many instances, suffer greatly for it by handing over that power, not being interested. And conversely, there are many women who take an interest, who spend months and months preparing for it, who change their bodies, who ask other women, who learn how to prepare themselves mentally and physically for the experience of it. And eventually when the labor comes, they don't suffer. They don't even experience pain, some women. And I'm saying this, and I think there are a lot of people who will say that's not even possible, but I have witnessed that it is entirely possible, that it doesn't have to be painful, that it can in fact be a blessed, humbling, joyous experience. Watching my wife give herself over to the divine nature and to the divine guide, putting herself faithfully, completely in this time of what could be fear, consternation, suffering, struggle, watching her face this, which for some people is a nightmare, which they go through completely unconsciously because they're all drugged up and in pain. And she gives herself over and has an amazing experience. And then on the other side, we are all changed. All three of us have changed. This is exactly what's happening now the Hopi people say this could be a good time. This could be a good time. And they are 100% right. If we have a spiritual perspective of this and we understand that our souls can only be perfected by moving through the hardships, by moving through them and finding a way to remain faithful and at peace with what is happening and to try to nurture these divine qualities through the experience, it can be a good time. And every struggle that comes, you can actually say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and move your way through it. And then the fact is we are, as you say, birthing a new consciousness for humanity. The civilizations that have existed, no civilization exists now that existed 6,000 years ago. And this is a cycle that has continued since the dawn of man, which, as I said, might actually been since the dawn of physical reality and will continue until the end of physical reality. Civilizations will always rise and fall because they give us an opportunity for those who are interested to meet the challenge of those days and the opportunity of those days. They will be harvested like the first fruits, those first grapes that were chosen off the vine when the harvest time came, and the others will be left. Not that they're destroyed, not that they won't get harvested eventually, but just at another time, another cycle, the next time they come past, maybe. So
what timelines, if any, do you kind of lay upon this era as far as unfolding?
I will. The Spirit is moving me to share a little bit. I've learned a lot about timelines and sharing timelines based on the 2012 experience. In the Bible, it says, the end will come like a thief in the night.
Right.
And again, I think that there's something really important about this humbling experience of not knowing, this humble space that we're put into by not knowing. But it also says in the Bible, the end will come like a thief in the night. But ye, brethren, are not of the night, that day shall overtake you like a thief. Mm-hmm. You are the children of light, and living in the light you shall see. And I do believe that God warns those who are interested, again, like the woman who prepares for pregnancy. The forces that are orchestrating all of this, though they seem very dark, are actually serving God by creating the essential conditions of the chaos and the challenges that are essential for those souls who would be harvested, who wish to be harvested, right?
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So everything is divine. And when we're looking at one side and thinking they're evil, we have to understand that there is no such thing as evil, that there is a necessary evil that is governed. The hardships that come to us are governed by the laws of karma. And there is a necessary evil wrapped in life and death and suffering that gives souls the opportunities that are necessary, that give us this opportunity. So there are forces, and these forces, it's interesting, I mentioned this because these dark forces who are actually serving the divine plan by fulfilling the role and following the impulses and the intuitions that they have to do the things that they're doing, are actually very interestingly bidden, I guess, by the law of God, and maybe by some really interesting perspective that they have themselves. They are bidden by some law to tell us what is happening before it happens. And this was why those who are interested, like the woman who is interested in preparing herself for labor, she has to be interested and she has to go and look for the book that is answering the questions that she would like to have answered, and to give her the understanding of what the experience might be or could be. She has to be interested enough to go and look those things out so that she can be informed and make some preparations. Similarly, the forces of darkness are actually very well, I actually don't think they're motivated by compassion, so I won't say compassionately. It is God's compassion that has created the law that makes them do what they do, which is to reveal. They are revealing very clearly their plans. I could give you links if you're interested, but there are documents created by certain forces, of a plan to create global governance by 2025. There's a design to establish a global government by 2025, which then is furthered by this by the United Nations Agenda 2030. So these are part and parcel. We're hearing these terms called the Great Reset come about, Build Back Better and the Great Reset. So when we understand and we look at these actual government documents and the plan to create something by 2025, and then you see the UN Agenda of 2030, a really interesting timeline. And if you look at something like, there's a webpage called the Deagle Report, which is a consortium of intelligence agencies who have put together data to look at fluctuations in global population, as well as global spending on military and healthcare and all these sorts of things. And when you understand the prophecies, first of all, tell of a 7-year period, the final 7 years, where the prophet Daniel is given a series of 70 times 7 years, 70 sets of 70 years, and they very descriptively go through the processes and events that happen during these periods, all the way up to the reestablishment of Israel as a nation, and then up to this final 70th week. And we understand in the prophecies that this final 7 years is the final 7 years. And it is the 7 years of tribulation. We understand that these 7 years of tribulation begin with the signing of a covenant. This covenant, though they say peace, safety, and security, the signing of this covenant is when the troubles begin. We know that that covenant is broken very, very descriptively 1,260 days later, which is 3.5 years, halfway through the covenant, it is broken, which then starts the final 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation, when the Antichrist proclaims himself to be the savior of the world, a divine savior. And at the signing of that is when he then wages his war on the saints and goes forward. He uses the information that he has to weed out all God-loving people and kill them. We could get into this. I have a train or something coming along the tracks.
There it is. So looking at that 7 years and the last, where are we in your reference point to that 7-year period?
Right. So it has been understood for many years, for up until now, it's been really understood that the signing of that covenant, a lot of people are expecting a Middle East peace deal to be signed. They've been waiting for a Middle East peace deal to be signed. And that's possible. That is still possible, that if we saw a Middle East peace deal being signed,
right?
If a Middle East peace deal was signed, that could be the 7 years. I think, though, based on where we are now, the promise of the Great Reset and Agenda 2020 and 2030, and the proclaimed plan to establish a global government by 2025, I do believe that the Covenant of Peoples, it's called in the Bible, the rough translation, I do believe it is the document that will be signed to establish a global government of some kind in 2025. So I believe around October of 2025, the 7 years will start. We have not started it yet. It would be very plain if we had started it already. And it has not started. So what I think, when you look at the Deagle report is showing massive, massive declines in population between now and 2025. This is, again, these intelligence agencies and governmental structures and bodies that have put all of their statistics and trends together to look at populations around the world, along with military spending and all this.
What's responsible for the population decline? Is there a cause?
Well, the Bible tells us very clearly that it will be the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. When we have these 7 seals in the Bible. There are 21 signs that were given, very clear descriptions, and we could walk through this at some point, either in this call or another call, because it's very revelatory. But they give very clear signs of what's going down and the order that it happens. I've also studied the prophecies in the Quran as well, and in the Quran it says something interesting. It says when it's like a beaded necklace, these 21 signs are like a beaded necklace, and as soon as you cut the necklace and the first bead drops off, the successive ones come off very quickly as well. The first 4 seals that are broken, these are the first 7 signs. There are 7 seals, 7 trumpets, and then 7 vials or bowls of wrath, they are called. These are increasingly intense events that bring us to the culmination
Mhm.
and and the end of the world as we know it, and the birth of a new consciousness, which will find its heart in Christ consciousness.
Mhm.
And that Christ consciousness, again, will be manifest in people who have never prayed to Jesus Christ or who have never looked to Jesus Christ. It will be that Christ consciousness will be born in people who learn to be at peace with what they're experiencing and who learn to cultivate and exhibit and manifest those divine qualities within themselves through the tribulations. And moreover, there will be many souls who will die, as we'll come back to, many souls who will die between now and the influx of this cosmic radiation that allows for this evolution. There will be many souls who die before that period of time who will also be raised up. All of the dead and the living will actually be brought to the same vibratory level, like the chicken and the egg. This is our journey back.
Wow.
So, right, and the Bible explains all this very clearly. When these things are happening, when people who are suffering such great pain because they've been bitten by this fantastic locust, and they try to kill themselves, and yet they can't kill themselves. Though they're suffering for 5 months, they can't kill themselves. So we start realizing, and the teachings tell us, these Gnostic teachings tell us, that we're actually on a journey from our physical reality is actually this amazing revelation. I have a living teacher now who shared this, that the first 7 seals are the dissolution of our physical reality into the astral reality. So by the time we see the 7th seal broken, which will actually see massive continental shift, a polar shift, by the 7th seal, we hear of this massive earthquake that there's this massive earthquake that shakes the whole ground, moves the continents, and then rolls the stars up as if they were a scroll. So imagine you're on the Earth, you're looking up at the stars, and then all of a sudden the stars all go like this, like they've rolled up. It's because we're sitting on the Earth, and then the Earth will go like this, and all the stars that we're seeing in the sky will shift and move. It explains all this very clearly in these physical terms. But by the time that event has happened and the 7th seal is broken, we have actually totally moved from this physical reality, and we are now in a dream astral reality, moving towards spiritual reality. And so miracles will start happening. These miracles of the parting of the Red Sea, when you read the Bible, how is any of this possible? Well, the fact is that we are spiritual beings, and we're going to be on this journey back into a spiritual reality. And the truth of who we are, what vibrations we're emanating in that time, will bring divine guidance and will bring divine assistance in those days. And not because I need to go out and do these things, but because I am being in a state of peace in God, the earth will move around me to protect and form itself around me, if I'm one of those people. If I'm one of those people. I'm one of 2 people. There are these people a remnant of people who are spiritual, who will live to maintain this light during these times, and who will serve to anchor peace and love in a world where there's very little of that. There will be a small number of people who serve God, the elect, in that way, and then there will be another amazing group of people who serve God and who serve all of the universe by being killed, by refusing the mark of the beast when the mark comes, which will be tied into the, of course. Revelation 13 tells us about a mark that will come. Without the mark, you cannot buy, sell, or trade. Kind of looking like tied into the vaccine. These restrictions are going to put on people if they don't get vaccines and stuff in the future.
Yes.
And there's a timeline for that. That actually won't happen until the Great Tribulation. 3.5 years into the 7 year, the final service. That won't happen until then. So, anyways, just to get back to it, like the 7 seals are breaking. I think that this massive amount of death that we're going to see, the first 4 horsemen, the first 4 seals, as we're making our journey from physical reality into astral reality, the first 4 horsemen, the first one comes on a white horse. The pale rider comes on a white horse, who appears like a hero. He comes with a bow. He's a conqueror. He comes conquering and to conquer, and he's riding a white horse. I believe this is the rise, the physical presentation of the person who is the Antichrist, who I don't think he proclaims himself as the Antichrist yet, but he makes himself visible again on the world stage. And he comes, and the world will put their faith in this person as if he's a savior. That's the breaking of the first seal. The breaking of the second seal brings a rider on the red horse, which is bringing death, no, not, I won't use the word death because that's later. He's bringing slaughter, blood, the spilling of blood. So many people will die during the breaking of second seal. This is when the bonds are loosed and people are people are incensed. These are spirits. The spirits will take people and start making people wanting to hurt each other and hurt each other. So tensions that have risen, those bounds will be released. This will be over lots of different things, differences in opinion. The wars and the stuff that are already raging are going, like if you're looking at what's happening in the Ukraine and Taiwan, like these things are starting to take shape where something's going to snap in these areas, and those bonds, which will lead to World War III, but we're not going to have World War III first. First, this red horseman will come. These bonds will be loosed and some slaughtering will happen in those areas, in these hot areas. And then of course, in other little areas, when that spirit of violence and blood comes, other people start feeling up. The third horseman comes on a green horse carrying a set of scales. And this one brings disease, pestilence, as well as economic collapse. And he says like a day's worth of wages for this much wheat. And the amount of wheat is enough to make a loaf of bread. So you'll have to work all day in order to be able to make a loaf of bread. And then the fourth one comes on a black horse, and this is death. And he's given power over a third of the world's population to kill a third of the world's population. So I believe the plan is between now and 2025, these four horsemen will have ridden, and we will see war, death, pestilence, and famine come onto the stage and decrease the population and create such a sense of distress, largely tied into this plan, back and all of these other things that are going on. And a large number of people are going to be sick and die in relationship to these things. And then these other things, when famine comes, famine's going to take a lot of people. The economic stability that comes as we see the rise of this, what they call pandemic, where you see humanity's reactions to it. You can see the economic downturn through these massive subsidies given to people. Obviously, nobody has the money for it. If you do any research, and if anyone's interested, I have amazing research and information on the different and the dangers that they're proposing to people's health now, not just now, but in the next couple of years, the prolonged effects of these. So we're going to see, and then those will be called, those new strains and mysterious illnesses that will result will then be called new strains of different viruses. And just the beginning. I think the Ebola virus this is just a test run for an Ebola scare, which will be much more biblical. And then they're going to want to get everyone for these new sicknesses, mysterious, they'll just call it another disease and get more people, which will lead to more deaths. Of course, that massive disruption of population through the already crippled economy will then cause an actual economic collapse, which will lead to famine, which will take a lot of people. And then in the unrest of all of that time, the global powers will make their moves in war. When America becomes destabilized in these events that I've just spoken of and civil war, as they move to take the guns away from one portion of the population, and that portion of the population feels that it has to rise and fight, mistakenly believes that it has to rise to fight and that is the answer, there will be a conflagration and war will start. And once America is weakened from within, then China and Russia and other powers make their moves in the rest of the world. And massive populations will be lost, which is what the plan is to decrease a lot of the population so that the world has this tremendous problem, a lot of fear, everyone, just like what we're seeing now, everyone looking for some solution to the traumatic experience. And then a simple solution will be offered, and that is we have to unite the world. We have to unite the world under this global reset. We have to take away all of your freedoms and laws so that we can tell you what to do, because we have to manage this. And that will cause further divisions and challenges for people as well. So the plan, I believe, is to create enough instability between now and 2024, 2025 around the whole world, so that by 2025, in conjunction with their expressed plan to create global governments by 2025, they can then move forward with this great reset, sign this covenant, I believe, maybe perhaps, and that will begin the 7 years. Ta-da.
Well, that being said, eloquently, do we have another timeline choice, Keith? As far as getting to point G down the line. I can see going through the wickets, which seem to be, and in the sense of prophecy, correct in a heartful way. However, if there were a higher illuminational pathway available, what would it look like? Or is there a chance for any alternatives here, knowing that that is sealed in stone, so to speak? What is any variance at all on that?
There are rooms for a variance. It's very interesting. I'm learning this from my experience in prophecy. Number one and number two is the end is guaranteed. Our end is guaranteed because, again, like the woman in labor, the end of this world, this poisoned, hurtful world, this selfish world is guaranteed so that a new reality can be born. So there will be, the wailing and gnashing of teeth comes from holding on to a desire to hold things as they are. But I will be the first to admit that I do not know that there are variants and God has a plan, and he has expressed that there is flexibility within that plan. Very interestingly, he states in the Bible, he says this thing, he says, it's so funny, it's one of my favorite things in the Bible. He's like, God says, you may think that I'm dragging my heels on bringing this second coming, this rebirth of this new consciousness. You might think I'm dragging my heels on this. And he says, it's not that I'm dragging my heels. He says, the fact is that I'm patient. I'm patient with you. And he says, first of all, he's patient with those of us who are transgressing his laws and hurting each other and living just for the self. He's hoping that they might turn around. And then second, he says, I'm patient with you. And he says, it is my will that not one of you will be left behind. And so there are a certain number of souls, a certain number of grapes on the vine that have been guaranteed to rise to this new consciousness in this lifetime. There are a certain number whose names are in the book and who are guaranteed this, but we must do our work. And he says, work therefore, brothers and sisters, to hasten its coming. And he says, hasten its coming.
Yeah.
Best if we don't want it to be delayed. He said, work so that we can bring on this new reality and the suffering can stop. Work and do your work to prepare for it. So that is very interesting to me, because there is work required on those of us to prepare for this experience, is what it reveals. And it's also interesting, like those who wish to be alive during this time, it's something to be desired. These people are waiting around wishing that would come sooner. And then he says, work to hasten its coming. All of that said, I do not know that the timelines that I'm giving you, again, could be totally different. 50 years down the road, 100, I don't believe so, because when you follow these 70 times 7 year cycles, we are in this time now, and God promises that the generation will not pass from those who were alive for the reinstallation of the state of Israel will be alive. That generation will still be alive when the end time comes. And there are all these other indications that we are definitely within 30 years, but based on these expressed goals of these institutions and this plan that is very much in action right now to create these situations, and their expressed desire to have a global government set up by 2025, it seems very much like we're on track for that. But yes, anything is possible. A lot of the earlier work that I did was done with that spirit of this stuff could actually be stopped. I thought, I was like, I was like, if we work enough, then we can transition out of this experience. Right. And I put a lot of time and energy into trying to shift enough people into a deep enough state where we could prove to God that we were willing to make a change. And I've learned through experience that has never been the way, and it is not the way. That by wishing for people to be something that they are not, mine is to prepare for what is coming and what has been prophesied to come. And in the Bible, it says, the words that I have given to your prophets and that I have put in your mouths will never change from generation upon generation of their descendants. The end will always come. The hardship will always come, these powerful forces, because this is the place where we come to develop these qualities. And these are the perfect conditions that have been created for that. So I hope that answers your question. Well, yes, to give you a glimmer of hope in that aspect, although I would warn against holding on to hope so much so that when the reality comes, my clinging to that hope for it to wait another few more years might keep me from missing the opportunity in that moment.
Exactly. Well, no wine before it's time in your grape world of analogy. Not to stray from, again, the biblical reference of things. And obviously there's, Urantia teachings, there's Ohosky, there's Rudolf Steiner, there's
Steiner,
and there's going Goethe, all the things of looking then back at other cultures and the interesting element of current upswing in UFOs or UAPs or whatever we want to call them. And also the potential for seeding our culture at, 3 million, 30 million years ago, up through different times from an Anunnakian source or Pleiadian source. And so, is there any dovetailing of that experience? Because I know there's a lot of people that are probably, open to that as a pathway to who and what we are at this point. Yeah.
This is an amazing question to me. We could do a whole show on this. We really could do a whole show on this. Excellent question. First of all, I must express that the fueled desire that has been planted in the minds of the human population for a government disclosure of alien life is a seed and a trap that has been planted to establish the deceptions that are coming.
Cool.
So the Anunnaki, here's the interesting thing. I have done research, I've read Sitchin's work and was very compelled by it. And I do believe that these beings did come and played a part in our reality, and probably, I think the fallen angels, and again, you want to try to get away from the Bible, it's impossible because the Anunnaki are all over the Bible, as are the Pleiadians. So the Anunnaki, I do believe, were the angels that fell from heaven, that were not meant to intermingle. They were not meant to interact with human beings. And we understand from the book of Enoch the prophet, as well as from the book of Genesis, that these angels came down and mated with human women. And I do believe that these were the Anunnaki who came, mated with human women, tainted the bloodline of humanity, and who are very much alive and active in our world right now, who have brought forth the technologies that exist and played a part in structuring the military mentality of our race. These are fourth dimensional beings who want us to remain trapped and enslaved and subservient to them. They're jealous of us because we as human beings are capable of so much more. So they helped create a reality that's essentially been a mental trap for us to remain here. And so they keep us focused on fear with things like, an invisible foe that keeps us trapped in this vibration of fear and doing the things that we're doing, so that we're focused on the physical at this prime time when we're meant to be awakening to our eternal nature. So yes, the Anunnaki are coming, and we are going to see largely the mainstream media is informing us of these aliens that are coming, and it's for a reason, because we will see, just because I want to make sure that we touch on this, because it is very, very, very important, that we are told of if you watch my movie, The Testing Times, I do get into it. These three great deceptions, there are many great deceptions that are coming to test the souls of men. So if this is a final exam for the human soul, whereby those fruits that are ready can be harvested and rise to another consciousness, this is the final exam. And in order for us to move to a new consciousness, this final exam will be very, very tricky, because we're looking at interdimensional perspectives that you need an interdimensional expanded perspective to free you from the world that we're living in right now. We're talking about graduation from everything we see and know and understand. So if we want to escape beyond that, it's pretty much beyond the fathoming of most people. And this is why we graduate. So we have been planted in the minds of people. They're so hungry for this disclosure to happen. But we're told in the Bible that these beings will rise. These new leaders of this world, this global government that we've been talking about, there would be these two amazing beings who rise, and we're actually told there will be more than that. There will be many false prophets that arise and deceive many false prophets. So if we look at the prophets are doing in the Bible, there's these miraculous people who come and do miraculous things and speak this divine word. So there's going to be many false prophets who arise. So what we're going to see is many miraculous beings rising and saying many things, and these beings will deceive the population. And we're told specifically of these two who rise. One is the beast, and the other is the false prophet. The false prophet performs signs and wonders so great so as to deceive, if that were possible, even God's elect. Even these amazing spiritual prophet type people that God has put on the earth for this time, the subtleties and the amazing wonders that these beings will perform will be so great that it could even kind of accept it's not possible to deceive these other people. So it's my contention that what we're being prepared for with this promise of disclosure is that we're going to see, in answer to these troubles that we're experiencing of, we're going to see tons of variants. And then we're going to see Ebola rise up. We're going to see all these variants of Ebola. And then we're going to see, oh my God, we have to take, and the world, and then war. And then when the polar shift happens, the sky is going to be darkened. When the polar shift happens, a third of the light will be blocked from the sun and the moon and the stars. Like, the world is going to seem pretty inhabitable. And so all of a sudden, we're told that these miraculous beings who are going to come. And you put humanity in the state of duress and suffering for a short period of time, literally, with the soft, crazy mentality of humans now, you put them in that situation for a day or a week, and they'll bend their knee to anyone. They'll bend their knee to anyone if they are going to change it. And if these beings come down and they can perform miracles because they're technologically advanced, like maybe Anunnaki, or, the Anunnaki, they have, capabilities of shapeshifting. They can be an Anunnaki. They can make themselves look like whatever. Right. But we have to remember that Lucifer was an angel of light, like a divine celestial being from the realms of heaven. And is my contention very much that this will be Luciferian consciousness manifest in these beings who will perform signs and wonders that will be very deceptive. And they'll be saying things like, already, like with the Great Reset, they'll be saying peace, love, and unity, but it's only a partial peace. They want peace, which is in nobody disturbing anyone and everyone following the laws. But for those who don't want that kind of peace, they're going to kill them, and unity, unity, except for everyone who doesn't agree with our sort of unity. It's not an inclusive unity that God would actually speak of. They're like, in order to establish this peace, love, and unity that they want, anyone who doesn't agree with it has to be destroyed and eliminated. And the people saying these things will look heavenly and angelic and will have extreme powers, especially as we start moving from this physical reality into their realm. Here's the thing, is we're about to start living in a science fiction movie. And the Hopi prophecies even say that mythical beings will once again walk the earth. And, some of you might remember some of the movies I've done in the past where I showed dragons and unicorns. Why does the word dragon exist in the Bible like 14 times? How about unicorns like 2 or 3 times? These beings exist, and as we make this transition from a physical reality, the seventh seal is broken, now we're in an astral reality, we're in a living dream. We'll be walking here and these amazing things will be happening. And so, they'll be manifesting scientific wonders and all these sorts of things. So yes, Robert, I have a strong affinity to the Pleiadian consciousness and to the assistance that comes from the Pleiadians. I'm not big into a lot of channel works, but Barbara Marciniak and her work with Bringers of the Dawn and Earth and the Family of Light, there's not one word in those texts that is out of place. It is very good news, and it is speaking. What I'm finding very interesting contemplation nowadays is I'm sort of dissolving my concept of time and spaces and us as humanity living on this earth and all these other beings existing way over there. And I'm sort of coming to this very interesting perspectives when you dissolve and we move into the fifth dimension and we realize that all time is happening right now. Moving into this idea that some of these, higher elevated Pleiadian consciousnesses or Arcturian consciousnesses are actually maybe manifestations of ourselves at other dimensional realities. Okay. And that maybe there is no outer space and that everything is actually contained in this one multidimensional reality. Anyways, that's another conversation. But yes, divine blessings and divine angelic forces. There are angels that can be manifested either as these winged creatures or these other Pleiadian entities who are here to help us and who are here to manifest and perform wonders as well, to assist. We are not alone in this. When we start moving, we have always been and had the assistance of these divine brothers and sisters, and we will continue to do so, probably more profoundly as we move through this physical reality. Please, if you have a question.
No, just the, is there any trick of the trade in your wisdomatic path to enliven and amplify consciousness within the souls that are now on the planet to give us as much positive light as possible moving through these times? More or less a toolkit for assisting souls in heartful transition to an awakening process at this time. Myself, I see so many brothers and sisters that have fallen prey.
Yes.
Have fallen prey. That is hard for me to see because I don't know what the numbers are to begin with, but we're not overflowing. Maybe it's 144,000. I'm not sure what the number is of individual souls, but the wavering that I see happening by those that I was hoping to share in the brothering and sistering process has left me a little winded at this point. Yeah,
I hear you, brother. That's I'm going to say one thing to that. A couple things. One thing that is very mysterious that I'm only just learning is that there are multiple opportunities for people to learn and to elevate themselves. Who a person seems to be at this moment isn't a completely accurate indication of how far they may progress on this journey. We understand too that that many people achieve a higher state of enlightenment after death. So it's like in living out the drama and based on the false perspectives and the choices they make now. And then at the moment after death, or in the experiences after death, they again then get the opportunity to reflect back on the choices that they made. And and for some it'll be, they made certain choices, they saw certain things with blinders on. Friends and loved ones might have offered new perspectives that they disregarded at the time. And then when they get to live out the experience based on they get to live out the consequences based on the perspective that they had, even though they disregarded these other possibilities. When they get to live through the consequence of it and die according to the consequences of it, and then in the spirit life afterwards, they reflect back on it. And for some, there is an epiphany that can happen, and a true awakening. And if that awakening and that revelation is fueled by prayer in the moments after a person's death, if a loved one can pray for them or speak to them during that time, because that soul may linger. And in the revelation of that experience, if it can then hear the words of the person praying for them or offering wisdom to them, sometimes that can prevent further awakening. And then there are other souls who are put in garbs of ignorance to create conditions for us so that we can learn. It's funny, my wife and I were talking about it the other day, where there was a period of time where I said to her, I was like, imagine if everyone else on the planet is actually already liberated and you're the last soul who is liberated, and everyone else who has just taken on the role that they're taking on, so that you can find more love, compassion, faith, love, peace, and forgiveness for them. And it could be true. It could be true. I'm not sure. But I try to live that way. That said, two things. There's one trick of the trade. There is one guideline that you can always trust. That you can always trust in terms of guiding one's thoughts, words, and actions during this testing time. And I think I don't think you can go wrong at all by following this guideline. And the guideline is peace. Peace. Peace is higher than, even though I've seen these charts of evolution. You're talking about the turquoise, like all the way up these colors of vibratory levels and things like that. Peace, I think, is the second highest level that you can go in the consciousness. And to find a state of being at peace with the way things are. And when I say let your movements and your words and your thoughts and your actions be guided by peace. I look at attending to facing the challenges that are coming in my day to day, as well as the tribulations that are coming, facing them with the attention to peace. And that is looking at trying to maintain peace within myself during whatever is happening. So what do I need to do if I'm having an experience, I find that I'm agitated, upset, angry, fearful, I come into that feeling of like, oh, I'm out of my peace, and then find a way, whether focusing on my breath or something, or just through faith, just coming back to my peace. So when everyone else is losing their shit, I can serve them greatly by coming to my peace and remaining peaceful. All of a sudden I'm helping others. And once I find my peace, I then come to my second guideline, which is attending to the peace of others, which is kind of tied to the first one. Now that I'm a little more peaceful, is there anything I can do to help the peace of others around me? And then the third aspect, make sure that I do not disturb the peace of others around me. And this is true this is a guideline for myself and for others. So I try to act so that I'm supporting the peace of others, and also look at the action I'm doing and making sure that I'm not disturbing the peace of others. And anyone who comes and says that they're a savior, and we are told of these two beings and this governmental institution that will come and purport to be our savior, and we know that they are not our savior if they are here and they start disturbing the peace of others. Anyone who is disturbing the peace of others and impinging on their freedom to live peacefully is not a savior. And no matter what they're promising, if they're promising to save your life or anything like that, or save the whole race of man, but in order to do so, they have to disturb the peace of this other portion of the population. You know, and we're going to see this with the vaccine stuff, is like they're trying to save us, they're trying to do all this good for us, but they're going to mandate that everyone gets these, not attending to the peace of those who do not want these things. And so peace, let peace be your guide. It is the simplest and easiest way. And that is all the way to death. In this book called the Kolbrin Bible, it's really amazing. And he says, our victory is in our end. And there's a lot of people who think that with these rising forces of darkness that they see, you know, this division of the right and left, as you say, there's this group of Christians in the world, they call themselves Christians, who believe, and it's funny because they have some of the perspectives, they see some of the truth that's going on here and the dangers that's going on here, but they believe that they need to rise up with arms and to fight that. And they'll do it in the name of Jesus. And it is the furthest thing from the teachings of Jesus. Those people are going out to disturb the peace of others, and they are not servants of Christ. And so let peace be your guide. That's the trick of the trade, I think. All the way to death, because the prophecies tell us that there will be many people. You know, there will be many people who die during the revelation of these 21 signs, the seals, the trumpets, and the bowls. 2/3 of the population will die, and many of them by 2025, according to these discussions that we just had, which again might not be exactly true, but nonetheless, many people will die, and a small number, as you say, will remain. But it doesn't matter, because at the blowing of the seventh trumpet, we're told, so there'll be the seven seals and then the seventh trumpet. At the blowing of the seventh trumpet, every soul, whether it's alive or dead at that moment, will all be brought to the same experience. So it's not about surviving this. It really is about remaining peaceful, and those souls who remain true to themselves, who don't disturb the peace of others. And if it comes to the point where, you know, you have to get this mark, and if you don't get this mark, you're going to be killed. We're told that those who refuse that mark because they don't want to support the system and they don't want to, you know, be a part of it, those who refuse that mark and are killed are actually elevated. They get a pass on the final exam. They're brought to a really high level because they see the truth of their eternal nature, and they have made that spiritual choice to adhere to the health of their eternal soul, rather than trying to cling to their physical body by accepting something that they don't want, this mark and the support of that system. So again, it's not about living through this. It's about practicing peace, and above all things, to thine own self be true, to live the truth of yourself. And again, there's a lot of people who see these truths and see what's going on in the world, but they feel the need to go out and compel other people to change and see things the way that they do, which of course disturbs those people's peace and disturbs my own peace. If I want people to change and do something different, it's disturbing my peace, which shows me that it's not the way. So I might with a loved one or a friend, I might share some ideas, scatter some seeds, and it's very easy. You can tell very quickly nowadays whether someone's receptive to different perspective, and you can tell. And it's part of the program right now, and it really is to just have faith in karma and the law, to allow them to be where they are, to not disturb my peace and my. I hope that helps.
That helps. That helps. So peace, tricks of the trade, a toolkit. Looking back at the Oracle of Delphi, looking at the administration of LSD type substances for over 2,000 years to groups of people. Is there a value, potential value to mass administration of LSD, psilocybin mushrooms, and ayahuasca to the general public?
You're amazing. That is a really amazing question again. Here's a funny thing, Robert. So the culmination of this prophecy, and what people call the return of Christ, right, and the end time, we have this 6,000 year cycle that I sort of alluded to earlier. The reason the Jewish calendar only has 6,000 years, the reason that no civilization exists now that existed 6,000 years ago, is because these cyclical periods where we are, just like you and I, we breathe in, we breathe out, we breathe in, we breathe out. They go love, they go down, they go love, they go down. Fascinating thing that these scientists looking out into space, years and years and years ago, they're looking out into space when they got these first big telescopes. They're checking out space and they're like, whoa, they saw what they thought at first. They saw what they thought at first was two types of galaxies. One, they saw like this spiral galaxy, like our own galaxy, that was being sucked in, that was being coming in, because we have these massive black hole in the middle of our galaxy. And they saw, oh, check this out. There's this one galaxy coming in. And then they saw this other galaxy spewing out. And like, oh, wow, two different types of galaxies. And then they figured out, oh, wait, not two types of galaxies. One type of galaxy in two different phases. Just like you breathe in, you breathe out. Breathe in, you breathe out. So too does our galaxy go in a contracting phase and a expanding phase. Contracting phase, expanding phase. So our heart, the heart of the galaxy, love. So every few thousand years, we get up from the center of the galaxy, this massive burst of cosmic radiation, and that is light and information and vibration. So we get this blast of cosmic radiation coming from the center of the galaxy, and as it's sweeping through the galaxy, moving some dust particulate with it and stuff, but beyond the dust and particulate, it is vibration and frequency. So what's happening here is we get a cyclical blast of this cosmic radiation every few thousand years, which is, again, from the center, from the throne of God, from God itself, the center. It is truth. And I do believe that truth, I've said once or twice before that I don't think that there is a mistake that, like ayahuasca has surfaced in such great popularity and purpose right now. And some of these other medicines like DMT and stuff, again, you're well aware that DMT emulating the death experience, the birth and death experience in the human brain. I do think that when used properly in practice, not like I wouldn't say run out and grab like 1,000 people and do it, or put it in the water supply or anything.
Well, we've lost Timothy Leary a few years ago, that one, but that's.
But I do believe that I do believe that those who are called to practice in a healthy way with these medicines are, if they're doing it, not to, some people might take one of these medicines and try to like gain the keys to the universe, and they have a craving for a sort of experience or a sort of information, and then when they take it, something scary happens, and then they have an aversion towards it. I think someone who's practicing in those medicines with a lot of craving or aversion could be detrimental to their growth. But people who are taking those consciously and practicing, again, the magic toolkit, whatever that medicine brings to your experience, whatever, practice being at peace with it, In fact, take some ayahuasca or take a mega dose of LSD and practice being at peace with it.
Exactly right.
And if you can take a massive dose of it and practice, and not everyone can do this, and I wouldn't advise everyone to do this, but if a person's soul says, yeah, I see that through my own experiences with medicines, I see that, yeah, they can create a condition where if you have that perspective that I'm not going to react to it, I can, I faced most incredible nightmarish experiences that beyond what you could imagine that would probably turn a lot of people's hair white. And I practice facing it with peace and love and faith, knowing that it's going to end. And I feel myself while I'm in that crazy experience, I'm feeling myself with like, thank you, God, thank you. And I'm connected to spirit, I'm connected to faith. I will move through this. I know this experience is impermanent. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm filled with that. And you can ride through. This is the grace of Christ. This is the grace that Christ has come to show us. And you can, I think that is a very real tool to help experience, be able to make it through this, whether it's a physical experience, persecution, death, whatever. If you fill yourself with that same, thank you, God, thank you for this experience, they're leading you to whatever, they're going to kill you because they're not going to receive this mark or this vaccine or what. If you can fill yourself with thank you, thank you, thank you, I'm at peace, I know that this is impermanent. I face death or life from this because, like, to be real, probably 2/3 or 3/4 of us are prophesied to die through this. But as I said, it's not about whether we live or die through this at all. And if that's what we want, then we're in big trouble. But if you can have that consciousness that whatever God through karma has brought for you as an experience, and you can be faithful knowing that that experience will only be short and that you face it with peace. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Not just for you. If you can go, I face this moment. Thank you for this experience. I'm willing to face this for the good of all beings, and just keep putting out that positive energy of peace while you're experiencing it. I do believe that's a pass on the final exam. And again, whether you've lived or died through your experiences, when that 7th trumpet is blown, and so we have these 7 trumpets. So now the trumpets start blowing when we've moved out of the physical reality into the dream astral reality. And I don't think that God did it by coincidence, that these trumpets, trumpet is sound, trumpet is vibration, trumpet is frequency. I believe that as these 7 trumpets are blowing, that they are actually infusing increased vibratory rates will be influxed onto the planet with the blowing, with each sign. Each sign will bring a higher vibrational level, do, 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 do. And when the 7th trumpet is blown, we will be brought to such a high vibratory level that all beings, whether alive or dead, we've completely moved out of the physical reality now. All those souls will be brought to the same level where, now here's the answer to your question. I do believe that it will be very much like everyone having a DMT experience or a massive ayahuasca or LSD experience, and those who have practiced facing peace in that dreamlike astral medicine reality. And I'm not saying that everyone you can do the same through meditation, Vipassana meditation and other forms of meditation can treat you and bring you to the exact same space where you can face an experience, and then you have a way your practice is giving you a way to attend to that experience, to know that it is impermanent, to be at peace with it. And I do believe that that state of consciousness, when that 7th trumpet is blown, and that at that point the whole planet is under like 100 cups of ayahuasca or 100 cups of LSD, I do believe, brother, that is very much similar to what that final exam frequency filtering system is going to be. And those, as if you put the LSD in the water, not everyone's going to handle it really well right now. And that just, I do think that kind of reflects how people will do on that exam, maybe. I don't know.
It would have to be a ceremony. It would have to be a ceremony that people subscribe to.
Yes.
With leadership through the process. A friend of mine once said, you give the Hells Angels a lot of LSD, you end up with the Hells Angels on LSD.
Totally. Very true. So, yeah. And that's going to be the state of the world, is a lot of people, when these vibrational rates start happening and their thoughts are becoming manifested by these mythical beings and entities that are surrounding them all the time, it's going to be a bit nightmarish around certain people, because those are the beings and the energies that they're walking with, and they will have that experience. While beings who are practicing peace and connection to higher virtues and things like that will be surrounded and supported as the veils are dissolved between those realities. It'll be like, as you said, it'll be angels on LSD. It's like whatever they're putting out will be surrounding them, and that will be their reality.
Well, I love the angels on LSD comment. I mean,
totally.
Put that as the heading.
Yeah, totally. Angels on LSD.
So Keith,
Yeah.
everything you say is really a beautiful closing statement. So for me to say come up with a closing statement is a bit of a stretch, but I will do so. And just say, looking at kind of where we are, the eclectic elements of a societal structure globally, and all of the differentiating factors. You've alluded to peace, which is, I think, absolutely intuitively correct as far as the mantra for the souls at this time. But is there anything you feel comfortable in leaving us with that is a uplifting element of potential positive for a positive future? Yes.
Definitely something that I've learned along my journey, that I was gifted to learn from a very young age with the passing of my twin brother, is that no matter how bad it seems or how challenging it seems, everything is always unfolding exactly as it is meant to. And all you have to do is look for the purpose of what is happening and how it can bring you to greater peace. This, whenever anything is happening, just trust and know that this is divine. And even though it looks like these evil forces might be bringing into your reality, it is in fact a divine gift that is there to invite you to find a greater sense of peace. Because peace is not heaven is not a place where I go and everything is the way that I want it to be. Heaven is a state of mind. When I learn to see the divine purpose of everything, everyone and everything, and how it is here to help me establish and manifest a greater sense of peace, not just for myself, but for all, then I learn to be grateful for everything, and everywhere I walk is heaven. So yeah, just remember that it is perfect as it is, and be easy on yourself.
Beautiful, Keith. You've shined it up beautifully. It's a glowing, really, testament to your deep understanding of these times. And I want to thank you. Thank you for being here today and being involved
Anytime,
in the
brother. Thank you
process
for the call.
as a guide. And
Yeah.
your insight is heartwarming, and I'm so very grateful. So as far as the links, please send them over. We'll include those on the website of some of the, information streams you think would be helpful. And
Cool.
we'll basically be in touch as it goes along, and we'll direct people to your website. And just, look forward to deep peace and breathing with
Awesome,
you
brother.
as a true brother. So I thank you, Keith.
Awesome. Thank
All
you,
right.
brother. It's awesome to connect with you. Much love, brother. Peace, blessings
Always.
on the journey, you guys.
And for you. Bye-bye.
Ciao.